Good morning. It's our Thursday 30. Today is October 1st, so I'm wearing my skull. Welcome, badasses, to Texas Counselors Creating Badass Businesses, Thursday 30. I'm glad you all are here. I hope you all can hear me. Make sure you put down here in the thread if you cannot, so I can make some changes. I'm watching us live while I do this. So it's kind of like, pat my head, rubbing my stomach, two things at the same time. So first things first, I want to give shout outs to brand new badasses who are joining our group. So excited because this is a big year, right? This is a big month. We have so many changes happening to our licensing boards, and it's not just LPCs and LMFTs. Social workers, psychologists, everybody is experiencing changes, and they're huge, right? So let's shout out to the new badasses: Pershel Brown, Raymond Shukwuma, Tracy. I think Raymond, you're in one of my classes. That's pretty cool. Tracy Barkley, Sunrise Professional Counseling and Consulting Services PLLC, James and Jessica Wittenberg, Sherelle Herbert, M. Harris, MED, Deborah McCart. Welcome to our group. Now let's get to work. I'm so glad you're here. Glasses on. Here I go. Here we are, getting back to the home page, right? Take me there. And I know we had a lot of drinking games that came out this week with our lovely presidential debate. So you guys could always, I know it's the morning, but you could always do a drinking game on how long it takes me to actually get my sound and my video working. So, but don't do that. That's not healthy. That's never a good thing. So, okay, it's not letting me see it. So I'm going to hope that one of you guys will be able to help me out if things go south. But there I am. All right. Good. Angel says she can hear me. Good morning. Thank you so much for the feedback. All right, so let's get going. I love doing free stuff. I love shouting out to all the new folks coming into the field. I'm going to stop calling you interns. Maybe not today, but soon. I'm going to actually get in the habit of calling you associates, LMFT associates, LPC associates. Thank you so much for joining today. If you were going to hit any Thursday 30, today's the day, because if your supervisor is not plugged into these changes, you may be in trouble. Badass Businesses, Texas Counselors Creating Badass Businesses, is all about keeping you in business, right? This is your fault. You got into this business because you have a story and you want to help people, and you're too important to lose to things like not following the rules, getting in trouble, going broke, going out of business, right? Our hashtag, counselors don't quit. We have too many rural areas in Texas where there are zero mental health providers. We're making progress, right? The last year's rules, 2019 LPC and LMFT changes allow for so much more with technology. Then COVID hits, and we are looking at even more relaxed restrictions on the limitations to helping our clients access services using technology. Now, that's not the same as best practices. If you know me, I'm all about best practices. Just because the rules don't say to get CEs doesn't mean you shouldn't get CEs, right? If you are a newbie, and you saw our theme this month, Ready Level 1. We all feel like newbies right now because of the new rules, the new organization. So it's very important. I can't tell you how important it is to stay plugged into groups like this so you don't go out of business. Or if you're brand new and you're starting your business, you want to make sure that you're building it with the proper foundation. And if you start at the beginning and you're not following the rules, not good, right? Or if you're a counselor and you're adding a supervision practice and you're not following the rules, double, right? Don't do it. Hashtag don't do it. I guess there's a hashtag out there, don't do it. So look it up, right? So don't do that, right? Stay here, follow the rules. I love giving out free stuff, but the commercials talk about the things that pay the bills. If you're not familiar, Kate Walker Training is my business. I offer a completely online supervisor training, LPC and LMFT. It's dual licensed, and it can get you through the training so you can submit to become an LPC or an LMFT supervisor in Texas. I also offer a refresher course for you supervisors out there who maybe you haven't supervised in a while, or you only supervise 1 or 2 people, and that person just graduated and upgraded their license and now they're fully licensed. You want to make sure you're keeping up with things. The refresher course is a great way to go. I sell that. I also sell a monthly consultation group just for supervisors. If you're a supervisor, you can join this group. It is dirt cheap. It is $25, 2 CEs, ethics and supervision, and then whatever topic we're covering, right? So if it's a technology topic, you get 2 hours CEs on technology. It happens monthly, but you have to go to Kate Walker Training, katewalkertraining.com, click courses and resources to sign up. So that's the stuff that's coming up. October 26th is our next supervisor consultation group, and then we are inviting the amazing Janie Stubblefield. She is an LPC supervisor, but she is also an LPC board member. And so when we invite board members to our consultation groups, it's really special because they're not representing the board, but they're able to tell us what they're seeing regarding complaints. So it sheds a whole new light on, I thought I was doing this right and that's great, but oh wow, there's this thing over here that people are getting in trouble for, right? So when we invite board members to come speak to our consultation group and speak to our supervisors, we find out great information. I just looked up, Michael Duvall was asking about a coffee or tea drinking game, and you know what? I'm already ahead of you. Got my hustle juice right here. Drink, here we go. I don't have a problem. I can quit caffeine anytime I want. All right, so let's talk about the notes from our consultation group. One more shout out to you newbies. If your supervisor is not a part of Texas Supervisor Training, as soon as you're done with this, give them a call, say go join it. It's free, completely free. Then they must be a part of the Texas Counseling Association or the Texas Association for Marriage and Family Therapists so that they're able to get updates on all of this new stuff, right? If you're out of the loop, you're out of the loop, and that affects you and your business. So today, yes, I am going to talk about notes from the consultation group, but remember, if you are part of Texas Supervisor Training, that's a closed Facebook group just for supervisors, you will get to see what I'm posting is actually, I'm going to post the rules, and Kenda was our speaker, rock star attorney Kenda Dalrymple was our speaker in September, and she sent me the proposed rules as a PDF document and the actual rules in a PDF document. And I'm going to post both of those in the Texas Supervisor Training Group along with directions to find the rules. I know right now the new BHEC, and if you are wondering what I'm saying when I'm saying BHEC, right? No, I don't have a cough. Well, I do, but that's not what I'm doing. It's the Behavioral Health Executive Council, Behavioral Health Executive Council. And it's a little bit hard to navigate right now. It's hard to find the rules. It's hard to find what we're supposed to be doing. So in the Texas Supervisor Training Group today or tomorrow, I'm going to post instructions that Kenda sent me in an email so that we can find the things we need to find. Now, granted, there are some things that aren't posted yet. But if you're in that group, I'll keep you posted. All right, so let's talk about what's new. Well, what isn't new? So those of you, quick fairy tale, quick background story. Once upon a time, there were some licensing boards that were a little bit mean. Right? They were a little bit out of hand, and they meant well. Goodness knows if you are on one of these boards, you don't get paid enough. You don't get reimbursed if you lose business. So these folks were doing the best they absolutely could, and they had zero staffing, zero funding, zero staffing. So I know it's a popular pastime with us licensed folk to really throw stones at them, but you know what? There's a reason you shouldn't throw stones, right? And these folks were probably the most understaffed. I don't know. They were just super understaffed. So you figure 3 people trying to run the business for 4 licensing boards, right? So there were backlogs. People were not answering phones. You couldn't get straight answers. God forbid if you had a complaint, there were, you were waiting 3 years just for your case to get heard, and then you get heard, and there was inconsistent disciplinary practices and procedures. People were getting discouraged. There were it was very, very confusing, right? And so Texas, in its wisdom, has a sunset review committee. This is a wonderful committee that goes through, and it's sort of like a giant hedge clipper for the front yard of Texas licensing in committees, right? So it goes through and it sees the things that are no longer useful and it gets rid of them. Well, guess what? We, LPC, LMFT, social work, psychology, I think, and then one other, we were about to be sheared and put over into a general licensing board. So going away from the Department of Health and Human Services over to this other place. And so we fought hard, we being the people that represent you, Texas Counseling Association, Texas Association for Marriage and Family Therapists. They were fighting your battle in the legislature, and Greg Abbott responded, and he allowed the creation of the Behavioral Health Executive Council. The Behavioral Health Executive Council now takes over many of the operations because they are well staffed now. So let me start. Here's what we've got going on. You have your licensing board, that stays the same, and the Behavioral Health Executive Council. So if you are dual licensed, LPC LMFT, or social worker LMFT, or psychologist LMFT, you have 3 boards now. Your licensing board, for me personally, that's LPC and LMFT, and then BHEC. Now, like any good family, everybody is going to have their own rules and roles, right? And no fights. So LPC and LMFT still maintain the ability to determine things like definitions and scope of practice, right? So they will decide and determine the group, right? There are committees in this LPC board, and they are still able to determine the scope of practice, what you can do, what you can't do, what you shouldn't do, all right? What the BHEC is tasked with are all the things that cause problems, most of the things that caused problems before. They are well staffed, and most of their staff was brought over from the psychology board, including Daryl Spinks, who was just amazing with the psychology board. So think what you will about the psychology board, and you know, and a lot of you listening to this are psychologists and you have psychology backgrounds. You know, there's a history, I'm not going to get into it today, with psychologists and LPC and LMFT and whatever. Well, let's put all that aside, because psychologists, your board was kind of the model of what this is based on, because you were doing such a bang up job. So your staff, many of your staff members were brought over. And so what BHEC is tasked with is issuing and renewing licenses, CE audits, and complaints. So the complaints come through, and it's going to go through a discipline matrix. Now, I wish I could just tell you where the link was and you could click it and you could go see what that looks like. If you have a copy of the 2019 LMFT rules, it's actually in the LMFT rules. I don't believe it's in the LPC 2019 version. I tend to keep PDFs of all the rules, so I know it's in the LMFT 2019 rules, and basically what it just has is a level 5 infraction gets this, level 4 infraction gets this, on up to the most extreme infraction, then you have to get an attorney and go to the board. And we'll do a Thursday 30 on that eventually, but the nuts and bolts of how complaints work, really, if you're a supervisor, we'll talk about it more in Texas supervisor training. If you're a newbie, tell your supervisor to go get involved with that, or one of the organizations, so that they can learn all the nuts and bolts of what happens when you get a complaint. But the point is, BHEC is going to determine all of those complaints to see if what happens next, what level they are, then what happens, then will you get a letter to do this, then, right? So I'm going to say it again, the Behavioral Health Executive Council is in charge with things like issuing and renewing and upgrading licenses, CE audits, and complaints. They're kind of the DMV, right? They're the DMV for, you know how your license, like DMV can say, oh, well, you didn't pass your eye test, so you know, we're not going to issue you a license. Or, you know, they're in charge of issuing the license, where, you know, the state Senate and legislature, they're designed with making the rules. So they're dividing the work here, right? So BHEC is going to be doing the work that is staff intensive. So in theory, soon you should have someone answer the phone when you call. You should have someone answer your email when you email. Yes, there was a ramp up period in August. They literally had to shut everything down while they transferred everything over. And I told Kenda, I said, I think a lot of us were having 2017 PTSD, right? It's like, no, it's back, it's going to backlog again, right? And people were contacting their state representatives and they were helping them upgrade, and good on you. And you exercise your right to do that. Absolutely. We've got to hold our state agencies accountable. But here's my big but. You have to keep in mind, or now you do, because I'm telling you, this was a ramp up period. So ideally, this well-staffed organization is going to be able to handle your questions and the upgrades and the renewals and all of that in a very, very efficient fashion. They've got good staff. They've got good people in charge. Another super cool thing, and this doesn't sound super cool on the first glance, at least it didn't to me, but one of the things established by Sunset is there is someone in the governor's office now who reviews the rule, and her name's Erin Bennett, and she provides oversight for silly rules. So things that get proposed that just don't make any sense, or they, my example is always a few years ago. There was a rule that was encoded that talked about we supervisors would get these $5,000 a day fines if we did something wrong, and so that is in the statute. However, it was being executed incorrectly. I'm really abbreviating the story. Long story short, this oversight committee, or this person in the governor's office, is able to look at these proposed rules. When the boards propose changes, they go to her. She does some oversight to see if they really make sense or not. That doesn't mean you're never going to see them or they're not going to come up for public comment. It just means there is another set of eyes that will look at this to make sure that it makes sense. Okay, and so for the BHEC, just the nuts and bolts of the actual folk, there are 2 members from each board on the council. All right, so 2 members from social work, 2 members from MFT, 2 members from LPC, right? So they're all in psychology, all meeting together, right? And then an executive director. And then and you can go to BHEC right now and you can see who the executive directors are, and they're super fabulous people. And if you have been a liaison or if you've gone to board meetings before, you would recognize some of these folks. So you need to know the BHEC rules in addition to your licensing rules. Now here's where it gets a little wonky, right? Because we know there could be delays in posting rules. Now I'm going to talk to you about 2 things. One is a convenience for us, and one is actually the legal minimum that the state has to do. All right, so when rules become rules, they have to be posted, right? It's kind of like, back in the olden days when they put a nail in a tree and they'd hang, these are the rules of the village, whatever, right? It's got to be public. And so we are used to having the PDF documents just a click away, right? I'm going to click this and whoa, there are the rules. Well, those aren't posted yet. In fact, I think I looked, today's Thursday, I think I was looking on Tuesday, and they had not been posted yet. However, you can click and see the rules on the Secretary of State's office. And right now the BHEC rules are posted. The BHEC rules state things like interns are now called associates. And there's conflicting information. I am not an attorney. I don't play one on TV. And according to Kenda, right, Kenda is an attorney, and but she's not representing me and she's not representing you. But to the best of our knowledge, there's no hierarchy, right? So it's like, again, it's like our family here, right? BHEC, LPC, LMFT, and if a rule is posted on BHEC, it is true and you can follow it. It does not have to be ratified by LPC and LMFT, right? So the idea is one doesn't trump the other, or it doesn't have to be on both, because you're going to see things that are different. And if we do our job right, if they do their job right, it should be different, right? We shouldn't see a lot of duplication because they're doing 2 different things. we'll see how this goes in the years to come. But, you know, these things like, okay, do we call them associates yet? BHEC says yes, right? So if you wanted to go ahead and start changing the card font and, you know, the information on the websites, and if you own an agency, if you want to go ahead and go through and make all those changes, you know, go for it. Kenda's point was, if it is public, if it has been nailed to the tree and it is public and we are beholden to BHEC, right? That is our licensing board, right? Then we can follow it. We can't say to ourselves, well, that's not, it didn't appear on LPC and I'm an LPC. No, we are all BHEC, right? BHEC is governing all of us. And so again, you do what your conscience tells you to do, but there should not be a competition. If it appears on BHEC, you should be good to go. You saw I snuck in that word should, right? So there is, what else do I want to do? Okay, let's talk about background checks. So this, and this is a good place for me to kind of end this up. So background checks are required as of, I think, March. Everybody's going to have a background check. So for me, I renew my MFT in December. My birthday's in December. Don't get me anything. So my birthday's in December, and so I'm going to, one of my calendar to do Trello items in this next couple of weeks, I want to go ahead and get my background check done. But here's what we don't know. We don't know if getting it done for one license will actually kind of roll over and work for another license. You know, for me, it seems like it would, because I'm just going to go up to my DPS office, do whatever they tell me to do, get fingerprinted. So I would assume, you know, you get in trouble when you do that. I would assume it all goes into a centralized database and I'm good to go. Who knows? So that is one of the things Kenda is going to get back to me on, because she didn't have a firm answer on whether or not one background check would work for more than one license. And gosh, I think that's it. Okay, yeah, that's it. So here's the lowdown. If you're a supervisor, I'm going to post stuff in the Texas Supervisor Training Group. If you're not in there, get over there. The only thing you're needing to tell, you got to answer the 3 questions. You cannot ignore my 3 questions. If you're a supervisor and you're trying to grab other supervisors to join, we're going to reach out to them and we're going to say, hey, give us your license number, because there is a link that we can access to validate and verify licenses. So if you're an intern, if you're a newbie, if you're an associate and your supervisor is not involved with anything, my goodness, there's the Texas Association for Counselor Education and Supervision, TACES, get in it. There's TCA, there's TAMFT, there's my little groups. They're the consultation groups, my dirt sheet monthly consultation groups you can join. The refresher course, I offer it for money on my website, katewalkertraining.com, or you can go to the Texas Counseling Association Professional Growth Conference. Power up, join, get involved, join the conference. It will be virtual, but I can't think of anything nicer than to do CEs in my jammies, right? You don't even know if I have pants on right now. I do, but you're wondering, right? So do CEs, go to an entire conference in your jammies. Do the refresher course offered by Texas Counseling Association. Michael Duvall is the president this year. The conference is going to be amazing. They are going to kick ass. I know that it's going to be an amazing conference. There is no excuse, if you're a supervisor, why you don't know this stuff or are getting to know this stuff. Interns and associates, there is no excuse if your supervisor doesn't know this stuff or can't find a place to find this stuff. So let me look real quick. Kathy Vick wants to know, she renewed in August. Do you have to get a background check in March? I believe so. I believe everybody has to have a background check by March. So you might want to go ahead and start early. I don't know how long it takes. I don't know what DPS is like. I'll let you know. And Summer wants to know, so TSB EPC doesn't have to approve before it's being used. What I'm hearing, and this is, again, this is from the consultation group, this is what I was hearing from Kenda, if it's posted and public and on the BHEC site, then we are good to go. We don't have to have it corroborated. In fact, she said that sets up a hierarchy, right? Like it's not real until LPC says so, or it's not real until LMFT says so. BHEC is its own thing. So if it's posted, what I'm hearing is you're good. Who else? Let's see. Right. Summer, I agree. These are must-knows. So I'm seeing all the comments, I think. Any other comments? Because I'm about to sign off and go eat breakfast. I'm going to snooze in the woodlands. I'm meeting a friend. So I hope you guys have a great day. Get your supervisors over to Texas Supervisor Training. I'm going to be posting the proposed PDF BHEC rules with the actual PDF BHEC rules. I'm going to post instructions for how to find things on the BHEC website. The other boards will catch up, but remember, meetings get canceled, things get confusing, right? So we're going to go with the things that are posted. So you are still beholden to 2019 rules that are active in there, right? BHEC didn't supersede them or cancel them, and BHEC, right? So where they conflict, yeah, there'll be a little bit of a dilemma right now, but that's what these groups are for. Sometimes what I talk about in our Texas Supervisor Training and my 40-hour training is defensible, right? We can't complaint-proof ourselves, right? We can't be perfect. I wish we could. But what we know is saying that something is posted in a public place and it's on the BHEC site, that is a defensible stance, right? You're following the rule. You are literally following the rule. Thank you, Linda. You're pretty badass yourself. You guys have a great morning. I'm going to go drink more coffee, maintain eye contact while I close the live video. This is Dr. Kate Walker with your Thursday 30, October 1st. Have a great day.